My name is Ethan Croft. For 5 years, I've chased Michelin stars, the perfect sear, the impossible flavor. That's what brought me to Nuit Éternelle, the eternal night, a 24-hour culinary legend nestled in the heart of a city that never sleeps. Most diners see its daytime elegance, its pristine service. But after midnight, the doors open to a different clientele. The menu changes, and there are 7 rules. Rules whispered by a head chef whose eyes held the hunger of millennia. Rules about ingredients, about silence, about the patron at table 7. He never orders the same, because some appetites are far more ancient and insatiable than any chef could imagine, and the ingredients are not always from this world. I grew up in the shadow of my family's humble diner, flipping burgers and dreaming of haute cuisine. My palate was my superpower, my ambition, my fuel. I devoured cookbooks, trained in the finest culinary schools, apprenticed under brutal masters. I craved perfection, the kind of dish that transported you, that transcended mere sustenance. But there was always something missing, a certain je ne sais quoi, a depth I couldn't quite reach with earthly ingredients. My hunger for that ultimate flavor led me to Nuit Éternelle. The restaurant was a discreet, velvet-roped enigma on a quiet side street. Its reputation whispered through the underground culinary world, a place where the ordinary became extraordinary, where taste ventured into the sublime. Head chef Chef Thorne was a living legend, a culinary alchemist whose dishes were rumored to induce euphoria, despair, or enlightenment. He was an old man, gaunt, with eyes that seemed too bright, too aware, and hands that moved with an almost mystical precision. He rarely spoke, but his presence in the kitchen was a gravitational force. I landed an apprentice position, night shift. Nuit Éternelle ran a conventional high-end service until 11 p.m. Then the front doors would lock, the main dining room would dim, and a hidden door would open, revealing a smaller, more intimate space. The Midnight Salon, Chef Thorne called it, and in this salon, the rules changed. Everything changed. My first night, Chef Thorne led me through the gleaming stainless steel kitchen, past racks of exotic spices and simmering stocks, to a small windowless office tucked away behind the walk-in freezers. The air here was colder, heavier, carrying the faint, earthy scent of ancient soil and something else, something indescribably rich, yet unsettling. He handed me a simple, unlined black notebook. No fancy cover, no embossed logo, just a plain, unassuming journal. "Ethan!" His voice was a low rasp, like dry leaves scuttling across pavement. "This isn't a manual, it's a covenant. These 7 rules are the difference between a successful service and an unserved fate. Break them, and you don't just lose your job, you become part of the seasoning." His eyes lingered on mine, a deep, unsettling gaze that seemed to probe not my culinary skills, but my deepest hungers. I grasped the notebook. 7 rules, each a step deeper into the restaurant's secret heart. I read the rules in the eerie silence of the small office, the faint hum of unseen machinery providing a low, almost visceral background. They weren't typical kitchen safety protocols. They were something else entirely. Instructions for navigating a different kind of reality. Here are the rules, as meticulously penned in Chef Thorne's journal. Rule number 1, never under any circumstances, serve the dish of the day to the client at table 7. He never orders the same. Chef's annotation. His palate demands novelty. To repeat a flavor is to bore him. To bore him is to displease him. Displeasure is unprofitable. Rule number 2. All staff must maintain a neutral demeanor with after-midnight clientele. No smiles, no small talk, no personal expressions. You are a conduit, not a personality. Chef's annotation. Their appreciation is not for your service, but for the offering. Distraction compromises the transfer. Rule number 3. Do not question the deliveries that arrive between 11 p.m. and midnight. Place them immediately in the designated cold larder without inspection. Chef's annotation. The source is beyond our concern. The quality is absolute. Inspection is disrespectful. Rule number 4. If a client requests a dish not on the after-midnight menu, offer only 2 alternatives from the current secret menu. Do not ask them to specify their original request further. Chef's annotation. Their true desires are unmanageable. To encourage them is to invite chaos into the kitchen. Rule number 5. The musical selection for the midnight salon must never deviate from the pre-approved ambient harmonization playlist. Do not introduce external sounds. Chef's annotation. The harmonics are delicate. They soothe. They contain. Disruption awakens other frequencies. Rule number 6. All uneaten food from the midnight salon must be meticulously disposed of in the designated compost chamber before sunrise. No exceptions, no leftovers. Chef's annotation. The residuals are volatile. To allow them to remain is to invite proliferation. Rule number 7. Never, under any circumstances, accept payment from the client at table 7. All his transactions are prearranged. Chef's annotation. His currency is not of this realm. His offers are binding. My chef's heart, always hungry for the unusual, thrilled at the prospect. This wasn't just cooking. This was an initiation, a secret world of flavors. The hunger in Chef Thorne's eyes, I convinced myself, was merely the hunger of true artistry. My first few weeks on the night shift were a blur of new techniques, exotic aromas, and unsettling observations. The ingredients delivered after 11 p.m. were truly baffling. Meats that shimmered with bioluminescence, vegetables that pulsed with a faint internal light. Chef Thorne worked with them with a reverence that bordered on religious. The midnight salon clientele were equally strange. Silent figures, often cloaked, their faces obscured by shadows or elaborate masks, who dined with a profound, almost ritualistic focus. Rule number 3. Do not question the deliveries that arrive between 11 p.m. and midnight. Place them immediately in the designated cold larder without inspection. My initial breach of the rules was almost accidental, driven by an insatiable curiosity about the ingredients. One night, a delivery truck, unmarked and silent, arrived at 11:30 p.m. The delivery man, a hulking figure with eyes hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat, simply grunted and left a large, heavy crate on the loading dock. He vanished without a word. I wheeled the crate into the kitchen. Chef Thorne was engrossed in a delicate preparation. His back to me, the crate radiated an unusual chill, far colder than any conventional refrigeration. My instincts, always pushing for knowledge, took over. I needed to see what was inside. I pried open the lid. Inside, nestled in a bed of shimmering phosphorescent moss, was a single, perfectly spherical object. It pulsed with a soft, internal light, like a tiny self-contained galaxy. It smelled faintly of ozone and distant ancient forests. It wasn't organic as I knew it. It was beautiful, terrifying, and completely alien. As I stared, mesmerized, a faint, almost imperceptible hum filled the air. The light from the sphere intensified, casting strange, dancing shadows on the kitchen walls. A profound sense of wrongness washed over me, a feeling of having peered into a place I should not have seen. My skin prickled. "Ethan!" Chef Thorne's voice, sharper than I'd ever heard it, cut through the hum. He stood over me, his eyes blazing, a long, slender knife glinting in his hand. "The cold larder!" Now, I slammed the lid shut, my heart hammering. The hum faded, the light dimmed. I quickly wheeled the crate into the cold larder, its strange contents now hidden from sight. Chef Thorne watched me, his expression unreadable. "The ingredients are not for inspection, Ethan. They are for transformation. Curiosity is a dangerous spice." The warning was clear, but the memory of that pulsating sphere, its alien beauty, lingered. It felt like I had glimpsed the true source of Chef Thorne's legendary flavors. The incident with the ingredient delivery made me more cautious, but also more fascinated. La Nuit Éternelle was even stranger, even more profound than I had imagined. Rule number 2. All staff must maintain a neutral demeanor with after-midnight clientele. No smiles, no small talk, no personal expressions. You are a conduit, not a personality. The clientele in the midnight salon were unnerving. They rarely spoke, communicating through subtle gestures or simply leaving cryptic notes on their tables. Their eyes, when visible, seemed to hold an ancient weariness, a profound hunger that nothing could truly sate. We moved among them like ghosts, serving dishes that defied conventional culinary description. Echoes of the deep abyss, tears of the star-bloomed lotus, whispers of the primal earth. Each dish was a complex symphony of flavors that danced on the edge of perception. One night, the maître d'hôtel, a perpetually calm man named Arthur Reed, known for his unflappable composure, made a mistake. A new waiter, Chloe Davis, fresh out of culinary school, was overwhelmed. She accidentally bumped into a client spilling a glass of water. In a moment of panic, she offered a profusely apologetic smile. Rule number 2, all staff must maintain a neutral demeanor. The client, a tall figure cloaked in shadows at table 3, slowly turned his head. His face remained obscured, but the air around him grew heavy, cold. Arthur Reed, who had witnessed the transgression, moved with unnatural speed, placing himself between Chloe and the client. His usual neutral expression was replaced by a flash of raw terror. "My deepest apologies, esteemed guest," Arthur said, his voice a low, placating murmur. "A new hire. She misunderstands the protocols." The client at table 3 slowly raised a hand. His finger, long and slender, pointed at Chloe. For a fleeting moment, as the shadow shifted, I saw a glimpse of his skin. It was not human. It shimmered with an iridescent, almost reptilian sheen. Arthur reacted instantly. He snatched a shimmering silk napkin from a nearby table and quickly, almost violently, draped it over Chloe's face, obscuring her smile. The tension in the air immediately dissipated. The client at table 3 slowly lowered his hand, turning back to his uneaten dish. Arthur led a trembling Chloe back to the kitchen, his face grim. Her curiosity, he whispered to me, his eyes wide with fear. Her wanting to be seen, it almost drew his attention. We are not to be seen. We are to serve. Chloe was fired that night, her termination curt and immediate. She left in a daze, her eyes still haunted by the momentary glimpse of the client's true form. Arthur said nothing more, but the fear in his eyes lingered, a bitter taste in the otherwise perfect culinary environment. The heart of La Nuit Éternelle's mystique was Table 7, a secluded booth in the darkest corner of the midnight salon, always reserved, always occupied. The client, a towering figure perpetually draped in a heavy velvet cloak, his face hidden by the deep shadow of his hood, was known only as the Proprietor. He never spoke. He communicated through subtle movements, a nod, a tilt of his head, and he never ordered the same thing. Rule number 1, never, under any circumstances, serve the dish of the day to the client at table 7. He never orders the same. Every night, Chef Thorne would personally prepare a unique dish for the Proprietor. It was a ritual, a challenge, a culinary tightrope walk, a single, flawless creation. The anticipation, the tension in the kitchen as he cooked, was palpable. I watched, mesmerized, as Chef Thorne crafted these masterpieces. One night, it was a delicate meringue sphere, filled with what appeared to be frozen starlight. Another, a slow roasted cut of meat that seemed to hum with a low resonant frequency. My ambition, my hunger for the ultimate flavor, soared. I began to suspect that the Proprietor was the true patron of the restaurant, the one whose ancient palate pushed Chef Thorne to these impossible heights. My own curiosity led me to the cold larder, where the strange ingredients were kept. I wanted to learn their secrets, to understand their properties. I studied their forms, their strange bioluminescence, their alien textures. My hunger for perfection was rapidly transforming into a hunger for knowledge. One night, the dish Chef Thorne prepared for the Proprietor was a shimmering, gelatinous cube that pulsed with a faint internal beat, like a captured heart. It was served on a plate of obsidian, accompanied by a single, perfectly clear drop of liquid that glowed faintly. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that the ingredient from the glowing sphere I had inadvertently seen was part of this dish. Chef Thorne carried it out, his steps slow and deliberate. He placed it before the Proprietor. The cloaked figure remained utterly still. The air grew heavy, thick with anticipation. The silence in the midnight salon was absolute. The Proprietor slowly raised a gloved hand. He didn't touch the dish, he simply observed it. A faint shimmer passed over the surface of the gelatinous cube. It pulsed, brighter, faster, and then a low, guttural growl, impossibly deep, emanated from beneath the cloak. It wasn't a growl of anger, it was a growl of pleasure. Chef Thorne bowed low, a deep, reverent bow. He returned to the kitchen, his eyes blazing with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. He had pleased the Proprietor. He had achieved the impossible. But the next day, the dish was gone, the plate wiped clean, and Chef Thorne's face, already gaunt, seemed even more hollowed out, his eyes even brighter, as if something vital had been drained from him. He had paid a price for that impossible creation. The restaurant was owned by an enigmatic corporation, Eternum Hospitality Group. Their quarterly reports boasted astronomical profits. Despite La Nuit Éternelle being their only publicly known establishment. I started to suspect that the true profit wasn't just monetary, it was something else. Something far more ancient and terrifying. My personal hunger for the ultimate flavor was now entwined with a terrifying new understanding. The ingredients, the clientele, the rules. It all revolved around feeding the proprietor. And Chef Thorne, the culinary genius, was merely a high priest in a very dangerous ritual. One night, I found Chef Thorne in the cold larder, his face illuminated by the faint glow of the bioluminescent ingredients. He was speaking to himself, a low, desperate murmur. "He's tired, he's bored," he rasped, turning to me, his eyes wide and desperate. "He demands a new sensation, something unprocessed." A cold dread gripped my heart. Unprocessed. Suddenly, a new sound cut through the silence. The music. The ambient harmonization that usually filled the midnight salon. It wasn't playing. A different sound filled the air, a harsh, dissonant, metallic scraping. Rule number 5. The musical selection for the midnight salon must never deviate from the pre-approved ambient harmonization playlist. Do not introduce external sounds. I rushed out into the kitchen. The music from the salon was gone. Instead, a series of grating metallic screeches like knives dragging across raw bone echoed through the restaurant. The lights flickered. The ingredients on the preparation tables began to tremble, some of them glowing brighter, others darkening. "The playlist!" Chef Thorne shrieked. "Someone changed the playlist!" Arthur Reed, the maitre d', stood by the sound system, a small, triumphant smile on his face. "The proprietor is tired of the same old lullabies, Chef," Arthur said, his voice now devoid of fear, filled with a cold, almost predatory glee. "He desires something more stimulating." He had put on a different playlist, not music, a recording of screams, raw, desperate, human screams, amplified and distorted. The sound filled the restaurant, making the very foundations tremble. From table 7, the proprietor slowly rose. He was immense, far taller than I had realized. His cloak, which had seemed to merely obscure his form, now rippled with a dark liquid energy. His shadowed head tilted upwards, towards the source of the screams, and then a sound. Not a growl, a low, rumbling chuckle, a chuckle of profound satisfaction. Arthur Reed bowed deeply, subserviently. "He is pleased, Chef. He hungers for a new flavor, a fresh essence." Chef Thorne's eyes, previously blazing with desperate artistry, now filled with a dawning horror. No, not that. But it was too late. The screams from the speakers intensified. The proprietor slowly extended a hand, not toward Chef Thorne, but towards me. "A new flavor!" The proprietor's voice boomed, deep and resonant, layered with 1,000 hungry whispers. "A fresh palate. The hunger grows." I stood frozen, the maitre d's betrayal echoing in the agonizing screams. Chef Thorne, his face a mask of defeat, dropped his knife. He knew. "The dish of the day, Ethan," Chef Thorne whispered, his voice broken. "It's you." Arthur Reed, the maitre d', approached me, a serene smile on his face. In his hand, he held a small silver tray. On it, a single, perfectly balanced fork. "A young palate," Arthur murmured, his voice now a smooth, cultured purr, untouched by the bitterness of prolonged service. A perfect sacrifice to renew the chef's inspiration and to satisfy a truly discerning hunger. He hadn't changed the playlist merely to annoy Chef Thorne. He had done it to provoke the proprietor, to accelerate his hunger, to engineer a moment of weakness where a new ingredient could be introduced. He was playing a deeper game, vying for favor, perhaps even for Chef Thorne's position. The proprietor's cloaked hand gestured. A long, dark appendage emerged from beneath the velvet, its tip a razor-sharp talon. It pointed at me. Chef Thorne, with a sudden, desperate surge of will, grabbed the closest knife, a gleaming butcher's blade. He screamed, a primal sound of defiance, and lunged, not at the proprietor, but at Arthur Reed. Arthur, surprised by the chef's sudden attack, stumbled back. The proprietor, however, seemed merely amused. His cloaked form rippled, and a faint, almost invisible barrier shimmered around Arthur, deflecting Chef Thorne's attack. The blade passed through Arthur as if he were smoke. Arthur's smug smile widened. "Did you forget, Chef?" Arthur purred, a chillingly human sound. "I'm not on the menu, but a new apprentice, a fresh canvas." The proprietor's talon-like finger twitched. The air around me crackled. I felt a profound, invisible pull, a vast hunger drawing me towards table 7. My legs felt heavy, rooted to the spot. My own ambition, my hunger for the ultimate flavor, had led me here to become the ultimate ingredient. "No!" Chef Thorne screamed, his eyes now burning with a cold, terrifying resolve. He moved with a speed that belied his age. He plunged his hand into the nearest preparation bowl, pulling out a handful of shimmering bioluminescent moss. The same moss from the ingredient crate. He hurled it at the proprietor. The moss, as it left Chef Thorne's hand, transformed. It coalesced into a single, perfectly spherical object, pulsing with internal light. The very ingredient I had glimpsed earlier. The hum, the strange power. It filled the room. The proprietor's claw-like hand twitched towards the moss sphere, a flicker of genuine interest in his shadowed form. He reached out to take it, but Chef Thorne was already at table 7. His hands moved with a blur of motion. He took the obsidian plate from before the proprietor, and with a single, precise movement, he poured the glowing liquid that had accompanied the previous night's dish, the liquid that was supposed to enhance the flavor, directly onto the moss sphere. The sphere flared, a blinding light, and then it began to sing, a high-pitched crystalline note that resonated through the entire restaurant. It was the ambient harmonization, but amplified, purified, focused into a single, devastating frequency. The proprietor recoiled. The cloak, the shadows, they writhed. The immense figure began to shrink, to twist, to contort. The perfect balance of the harmonization, now weaponized by Chef Thorne's desperate act, was tearing him apart. The restaurant shook violently. Dishes shattered. The kitchen exploded in sparks and steam. Arthur Reed shrieked, a sound of pure terror. He covered his ears, his face twisting in agony. The harmonization was unbearable. It was purging the restaurant, trying to restore its delicate balance. And Arthur, by his deliberate act of dissonance, was caught in the backlash. His form shimmered, wavered, and then, with a pop, he vanished, leaving only a faint, bitter aroma in the air. Chef Thorne, his eyes now empty but serene, turned to me. "The harmonization. It demands balance, Ethan." He raised the obsidian plate, now empty save for a single, glowing drop of liquid. "This is the true dish of the day, its essence, its truth." He offered it to me. His eyes, though empty, held a faint, desperate plea. Eat it, Ethan, to truly understand, to truly belong. I took the plate. The glowing liquid shimmered. It smelled of ozone, ancient forests, and something profoundly unsettling, yet exquisitely delicious. It was the ultimate flavor, the one I had always sought, the one that transcended all earthly cuisine. I looked at Chef Thorne, his body now translucent, shimmering, slowly fading away. He had fed the proprietor an overdose of its own essence, forcing it back into whatever void it came from. But he had paid the ultimate price, dissolving into the very harmonization he had weaponized. He was becoming part of the restaurant's eternal night. The proprietor was gone, banished. Nuit Éternelle was silent, except for the faint crystalline hum that now emanated from my own chest. The harmonization. I had consumed it. I did not eat the liquid. I understood then. My hunger for the perfect flavor was what had brought me here. My ambition was what made me vulnerable. To eat it, to fully consume that essence, would be to become like Chef Thorne, eternally bound to the cycle, a high priest for a resurrected hunger. Instead, I took the obsidian plate and, with a heavy heart, poured the glowing liquid into the compost chamber. Rule number 6, all uneaten food from the midnight salon must be meticulously disposed of in the designated compost chamber before sunrise. No exceptions, no leftovers. The chamber pulsed, absorbing the liquid. The restaurant sighed, settling back into its oppressive silence. When the sun rose, La Nuit Éternelle was a wreck. Shattered glass, overturned tables, a kitchen in chaos. Chef Thorne and Arthur Reed were gone, vanished without a trace. Eternum Hospitality Group sent representatives, cold corporate figures who expressed disappointment at the unforeseen structural damage and the unfortunate disappearance of key personnel. They offered me Chef Thorne's position. I accepted. I am now the head chef of La Nuit Éternelle. I oversee its meticulous restoration, its return to pristine elegance. The corporate overlords don't know the truth. They simply see renewed potential, a new talent ready to exploit. They provide the mysterious deliveries, the endless supply of otherworldly ingredients. They are the silent partners in this ancient, terrifying dance. My passion for flavor is still immense, but it is now tempered by a profound understanding of the rules. The harmonization now hums within me, a constant reminder of the delicate balance I must maintain. I craft dishes that still transport, that still evoke awe. But now I cook to contain, to satisfy, but never to unleash. I prepare the dish of the day for table 7 every night. The proprietor has returned, his cloaked figure once again in his customary seat. He never orders the same, and I never serve him the dish of the day, because I know what he truly craves, and I know the delicate line I must walk to keep him sated but not emboldened. I am no longer chasing Michelin stars. I am chasing balance, because the hunger is eternal, and I am its new keeper. The restaurant, its rules, its clientele, it's all part of a delicate, terrifying ecosystem, and I am its new apex predator. My palate has finally found its ultimate purpose, and it tastes like fear, satisfaction, and an endless night. If you seek the ultimate experience, the flavor that transcends all others, or the creative peak that defies earthly limits, pay close attention to the rules of your pursuit. Because some hungers are ancient, some ingredients are unworldly, And the price of true delight can be your very soul. But exclusive restaurants aren't the only places with strange rules that guard terrifying truths. Sometimes, the most dangerous instructions come from the hushed aisles of forgotten knowledge. Imagine a vast and ancient university library where you work as a night librarian in the sector of rare and forbidden archives. The books here don't just hold stories, they hold consciousness, and they watch. Rule number 1, do not read the last page of any book. They know your name. Because the thirst for knowledge can lead you to the ultimate truth, one where the stories become you, and you become part of their unending narrative. Subscribe to Midnight Rules and hit that notification bell for more bone-chilling tales of twisted rules that could save your life or cost you everything you hold dear. Next week, we turn a new forbidden page with the Silent Whispers Library Rules for the Night Archivist.